Taija got married for the second time when she was already 35 years old. Her husband, Gleb, had also been married before but did not have any children. Taija knew that her husband wanted a child, but she was unsure if she could give birth again. She already had a daughter from her first marriage. By the time they decided to get married, her daughter was 13 years old. Taija and Gleb tried for 2 years to have a child. They had to visit many doctors and put in a lot of effort. But in the end, it worked out. She became pregnant. Their joy knew no bounds. Her daughter Maria did not particularly dream of having a little sister or brother. She was used to being the center of her mother's attention and did not need any competition. But no one really asked her opinion. One day, Maria was visiting her friend Elena. She told Elena that their family would soon have a new addition. Elena just frowned and said, "Now you're in trouble, girl. Watch out, before you know it, all the baby chores will fall on your shoulders." "What makes you think that? I'm still a child myself. Who would trust me with a baby? They're having it for themselves." "It's not my problem," she confidently replied to her friend. "Yeah, that's what I thought too. But I was about 8 years old then. As soon as my brother was born, they made me take him out for walks in the stroller. And when he started walking, I had to take him outside with me every time. It stayed that way until he went to kindergarten. Even after that, they made me take him out in the evenings. A truly happy childhood. You wouldn't wish it on an enemy." "No way, that's not happening. I feel for you, but that won't fly with me. I'll let my mom know right away for whom she gave birth and who needs it." Maria was sure her mother wouldn't burden her with baby care. That was the last thing she needed. She was at an important age, in her senior school years, with her own clubs and interests. When would she have time to deal with a baby? That was definitely not about her. From the first days, Taija's pregnancy was difficult. In the first trimester, she experienced daily morning sickness. Then she started having bleeding. She was hospitalized a couple of times for several days. During those times, her daughter felt abandoned and unimportant. She often called her mom on her cell phone and complained that she had to cook for herself. That Gleb made her cook and clean. That she was fed up with it all. Taija was upset that her daughter was so unhappy. She had hoped for more understanding from her. But in reality, that was how things were. Maria was against having a second child. But in the end, Taija had a right to her own life. So, she didn't focus too much on her daughter's dissatisfaction. At least, she tried not to. 2 weeks before the birth, Taija was hospitalized again to ensure the pregnancy was maintained. She stayed in the hospital all that time. The doctors didn't allow her to go home even on weekends to avoid any strain. And there was plenty of strain at home. The daughter stubbornly refused to help with anything around the house, as if she had declared a boycott. If she used to cook some food and keep her room tidy, she had now stopped doing even that. Fortunately, Gleb knew how to cook a little, so Taija didn't have to worry that they would starve while she was away. Maria, for her part, was deliberately behaving this way. She wanted to remind her mother that she already had a daughter who also needed attention and care. The fact that her mom had decided to have another child at an older age didn't concern her. Teenagers often see people over 30 as practically elderly, and Maria was no exception. She believed it was too late for her mom to have another child, especially given her health issues. Yet, for some reason, she didn't feel any pity for her mother, only constant anger. It wasn't even jealousy, but more a sense of possessiveness, as if something important that had belonged to her alone for many years was being taken away. No talks with her mother helped. She didn't see Gleb as a family member at all and could be rude to him without reason. But he didn't take offense, remembering what a handful he had been as a teenager. He preferred to turn a blind eye unless things got really serious. But the daughter didn't push it too far. The 2 weeks of bed rest in the hospital were not in vain. Taija regained some strength and rested. Then she gave birth to a beautiful baby girl, whom they decided to name Darina. A few days later, the mother returned home with a tiny bundle in her arms. Maria didn't even approach her, dryly said congratulations, and went to her room. It hurt Taija that her daughter didn't even want to look at her sister. This kind of attitude was something she definitely wouldn't tolerate. After unpacking her things from the hospital, she went to her daughter's room to talk. "Sweetheart, what's wrong? Why are you behaving like this?" she asked. "What do you mean? How am I behaving? What don't you like? Or did you expect me to jump for joy? Do you think I dreamed of having a sister? I'd rather have the latest iPhone than a crying baby in our house. When you got married, okay, I put up with it. But a baby? Did you even think about me? And now what? You'll dump all the responsibilities on me? Take her for walks? Maria, cook porridge? Maria, buy diapers? Maria. Forget it. You had her for yourself, you take care of her. Sweetie, you're wrong. Do you think I'll love you any less? That's not true. I love you more than anyone because you're my eldest. But I can't give up Darina either. She's my daughter too. And as for helping, don't worry. I'll manage on my own. I wasn't planning on burdening you. I know you have little free time. All I want is for you to at least look at her." Maria demonstratively stood up. "Fine, let's go, show me." They went to Taija and Gleb's bedroom, where a small nursery corner had been set up. There was a crib, a changing table, and a dresser. A baby lay in the crib. Ideally, the sight of the tiny baby should have elicited at least a bit of tenderness from Maria. But all she could hear were her friend's words, "Now you're in trouble, girl. Nothing special. Just a baby. Hello, sister. Is that enough?" She asked her mother sullenly, then turned and went back to her room, slamming the door loudly, waking Darina. The baby started crying. And Taija had to pick her up. The conversation with Maria wasn't over yet, just postponed. The mother didn't understand what was happening to her daughter. When had she turned from a sweet and obedient girl into this cold person? Gleb entered the bedroom. "Don't worry. It's normal. She's just jealous right now. She'll calm down in a while," he said gently and hugged his wife. Then he carefully took the baby from her arms and sent her to the bathroom to wash off the hospital smell. Gleb wanted to be home more often to help Taija with the baby, but he worked in shifts and was often not at home. In those moments, she was left without any support. She had to manage everything herself. On top of that, she found a remote side job because she didn't want to depend financially on her husband. Besides, she preferred not to share the expenses for Maria with her husband. After all, Maria was her daughter, even though her ex-husband didn't always pay child support on time, and it wasn't much when he did. One day, Taija was offered a big project online. She had to edit an entire website and check for errors, which promised good money. She accepted, but she didn't fully estimate her capabilities. While Darina slept through the night in her crib, her mother sat in front of the computer screen, correcting mistakes. As luck would have it, the text was written in an extremely poor language. As if it had been filled by people who knew nothing about literacy or punctuation. But she managed to get it done overnight. By 6 in the morning, the job was sent to the client for review. At 7, the baby woke up, not allowing her mother to get even a little sleep. Maria had breakfast as usual and left for school. She didn't notice her mother's pale face or show any concern. Taija spent the entire day caring for the baby. Today, of all days, her daughter was suffering from colic. She cried constantly and wouldn't let Taija put her down. This left Taija with no time to even grab a bite to eat. She even forgot to drink water, worrying about her daughter. When Maria returned home, she found her mother sitting in a rocking chair, rocking the baby and quietly crying. "Here we go, starting the waterworks. Trying to get pity? It won't work," she said and went to her room. But Taija wasn't seeking pity. She was simply exhausted from not sleeping all night and not being able to eat properly. They had run out of bottled water, and the tap water was undrinkable. Taija wanted to ask her daughter to go to the store, but she realized it was better not to disturb her in this mood. She was incredibly thirsty, breastfeeding was depleting all the fluids from her body. She could only hope Gleb would come home from work on time. When he returned, the first thing he heard was the baby crying and loud music coming from Maria's room. Gleb went to the bedroom and saw Taija asleep in the rocking chair, while Darina was wailing in her crib. He approached his wife and tried to wake her up, but she didn't respond. Then he shouted, "Maria, come here." But she only turned down the music and yelled back, "I already told you, I'm not taking care of the baby. Leave me alone." "Get here now," I said. "Mom is not well." Maria rushed out of her room as if there was a fire. She saw her deathly pale mother slumped in the chair and started to panic. What? What happened to her? I don't know. Take Darina, I'll call an ambulance. She'll burst her lungs from crying. Couldn't you at least check what's going on in here? Gleb was angry. He knew something had gone wrong, but Maria's indifference especially upset him now. He dialed the ambulance number while trying to revive his wife, but she remained unconscious. All this time, Maria was trying to calm Darina, but she had no idea what to do. She finally found a pacifier and put it in the baby's mouth, then picked her up and started rocking her frantically. The doctors arrived within 10 minutes. All this time, Maria prayed for her mom to be okay. She didn't want to help with the baby, but she certainly didn't wish her mother any harm. Taija was taken away by ambulance. Gleb wanted to go with her, but wasn't sure if Maria could be left with the baby. "Go, I'll Google something and figure it out. I'll manage. There should be some bottles with milk in the fridge. Please, take care of Mom." When Gleb returned home, Maria was sitting in her mom's rocking chair, feeding her sister from a bottle. She had already managed to change her diaper and dress her as best as she could. Not knowing what else to do, she was singing a lullaby her mother used to sing to her as a child. She didn't even hear Gleb come home. When she noticed him, she started. "How's Mom? What happened? What did the doctor say? Is she okay?" "Yes, she's dehydrated. She didn't sleep all night. And the water at home ran out, so she didn't drink anything all day. It's harmful for nursing mothers. That's why she fainted. She'll spend the night in the hospital, and if everything is fine, I'll bring her home tomorrow." He looked at Maria tiredly and added, "Can you watch her for another 5 or 10 minutes? I need to take a shower." "Yes," Maria replied quietly, averting her eyes. She felt incredibly ashamed. Her mother hadn't even been able to ask her to buy water, and it was all because of her. What if she had died? What then? Maria was deeply upset and felt very sorry for her mom. She wanted to cry but didn't want Gleb to see her tears. She took a baby blanket and brought her sister to her room. She spread the blanket on her bed and laid Darina next to her, surrounding her with pillows on the other side. Their cat, Bourgeois, who had already grown fond of the baby, joined them. When Gleb came out of the shower, he found that the girls weren't in the bedroom. He opened Maria's door slightly and saw she had taken the baby. He quietly asked, "Should I take Darina?" "No, we'll play a little longer," his stepdaughter replied softly. The next morning, Gleb went to get Taija. Maria stayed in charge again. She didn't even go to school, so worried was she about her mother. When Taija came home, Maria met her at the door with her sister in her arms. "How are you? Are you okay? Why didn't you sleep all night?" "You're already exhausted," she asked, her voice calm but irritated, not even giving her mother a chance to take off her coat. "Well, you've been asking for those headphones for a week now. So I took a well-paid job. I thought I could handle it." Maria felt even more ashamed that her mother ended up in the hospital because of her. She had tried to earn money for a gadget that was more important to her than her mother and sister. "I don't need the headphones," she said quietly and went to her room with her sister. Gleb looked at Taija disapprovingly and asked, "Why didn't you tell me about the headphones? Do you think I begrudge Maria money? I earn well, remember? I thought I could manage on my own. I wanted to buy them with the child support, but Sergey delayed it again this month and said it would only come next month. From now on, until you're back at work, I'll cover all the expenses myself. Don't count on anyone else. Your health is more important to me." "Agreed?" Taija just nodded. She also felt ashamed for overestimating her capabilities and was simultaneously incredibly pleased to see Maria with the baby. From that day, much changed in their family. Maria started spending more time with her sister. She began helping her mom around the house again and stopped arguing with Gleb. That evening when her mother was in the hospital, Maria fell in love with her sister. She had the chance to see her up close and was amazed at how wonderful babies were, especially this one. She whispered to her sister when no one was listening, "Now I know why they love you so much." "And you know why?" "You're amazing," she said, smiling at the little one. Now, she didn't want to let her go to anyone else. Sometimes she didn't even want to go to school so she wouldn't have to part with her sister. But duty called. One day, while walking with the stroller, Maria ran into Elena. She smirked and said, "See, I told you so." "Go to hell," Maria simply replied and crossed to the other side of the street. The street.